Hi everyone, this is Will, aka Dr. Financial Literacy. Today I'm talking about how I was able to reduce a 30-year mortgage within 2 months. And it started with God sparing my life more than 30 years ago from an auto accident. I used to sit in my car and read books. A voice came to me one night telling me to get out. I did not get out the vehicle. That voice came back to me 5 minutes later, get out. I reluctantly got out of the house using some explicit, went into the house. 5 minutes later, drunk driver came in Savannah, Georgia, totaled the vehicle, put the trunk in the hood. If I would not have reluctantly listened to that second voice, I would not be here today speaking to you. So I really appreciate my life being spared first and foremost to be able to talk about this. So let's go ahead and get into it. Velocity accelerated banking is my concept of using velocity banking and also accelerated banking, combining concepts of the two that I've talked about in previous videos. So these are 2 of 3 properties that I was able to acquire over time. This particular property was the property that I used for the HELOC. The property was purchased in 2008 for $61,000. It had a 2024 appraised value of 220. The property is located in Georgia. It has an interest rate of 6.88. So when people talk about a high interest rate at 6 point, this is nothing compared to the 80s or the 90s or what I was carrying for the last 15 years. So I'm glad I was blessed to get a nearly 7% interest rate just because of some historical practices in the US. If I had an opportunity to now get another rate at 7%, yes, I would go out and get another home because I now know how to use it as a asset class to increase my wealth. The type of loan, it was a 30-year loan, is a current 30-year loan, and it's at 304 a month, and the current balance is 28,000. All of this is a 30,000-foot bird's eye view of everything that I kind of sort of did in terms of being able to pay that off in 2 months. Now, the second property, which was paid off by the HELOC, was purchased in 2008. It was one of the earlier properties for 51,000. During the process of getting the HELOC, it was valued also at 220. Is a townhome located in Georgia at 6.11 interest rate. So for the past 15 years, I've been carrying an interest rate of more than 6%. More than 6%, I've been carrying an interest rate for more than 15 years. So this talk about high sevens, okay, all right. It was a 30-year fixed mortgage. The payment on this particular townhome, $344. And currently I have a balance, or had a balance before it was paid off, at $35,700. My salary in the 2008, I think was maybe around 35 or 40,000 in the Atlanta area. I was working as a security guard, working in restaurants, so various jobs in general that I was working for. Now, where am I at now? With the $50,000 HELOC, I signed the papers 4/9/24. I started the process in March. So in 2 months, I was able to get the HELOC and wipe this out. But it has taken me about 5 or 6 months because I was unable to get one in 2023. I failed. My debt to income ratio was high. My credit was low in general. I improved those things over a 5-month period. I used velocity banking, accelerated banking, and to come up with what I call VAB to improve my position. So currently it is 50,500. It is maxed out. I have no room. It is maxed. It is maxed out. Maxed out. So yes, I will take a hit, or I have accepted a hit on my credit to get this HELOC to start the process and to run some additional experiments in general to bring down my debt. The HELOC is on the Georgia property, which is this one right here. This one right here has been totally paid off as a result of the HELOC, plus my automobile and a few other loans in general. The rate 10.25, which is a variable rate. It can go as high as 4%, and it can go as high as 18% and be as low as 4%. I have prepared myself by budgeting $700, which is approximately 18%. So the only trouble I can get in if I lose my job, the economy turns south in general. But I've already factored in a $700 payment. Now, before getting the HELOC, I was paying the mortgage, the automobile, some credit cards debt that was totaling $923. So this 700 is still lower by $223 from what I initially was already paying. So I'm still below, and I've already factored that in. I looked at the contract. The contract told me, yes, you will have an interest rate that should stay between 4 to 18%. Things can happen, things can change, but contractually, 18% is the highest. So I've already budgeted. Now, it's a 30-year variable rate. They say that beginning on May the 1st, my first payment of interest only, not going to the principal, not reducing it, will be $424. But I'm prepared, and I will continue to pay $700 at an interest rate of 18%. So why go and get a possible 18% interest rate when I had two lower interest rates? Well, with a variable interest rate and with the HELOC, I can put my income in, I can put my rental income, I can put my taxes, my escrows. I'm gonna be throwing everything in the kitchen sink at this HELOC in general. My salary in out California, 3,390. So that's what's going to be a part of it also. Once I start in May, this is how I plan to use the HELOC. One is as a checking account. So I'm running all my bills through that. Before I ran my bills through credit card and reduced the debt. Now that I was able to secure this HELOC, I will run all of my finances through this HELOC and other things I will run my entire life fundamentally through this HELOC and reducing it. One, I'm going to use it as a checking account. So I'm going to write checks off if I have to do that. So no longer will I have checking accounts outside of my business checking account. Two, savings. I used to have savings account in multiple entities. Now I've cut back on the savings account and putting everything into the HELOC as I did with the credit card to put me in a better position to get the HELOC to save much more. And some of the savings came from, again, as I pointed out, I was paying about $923 in bills and expenses. Once I got the HELOC at $424, I should be now saving about $499. So in general, being also frugal in terms of what I have, that has helped. Also, emergency. I had emergency fund, maybe $1,000 in general. They definitely have indicated that many Americans don't even have $300 to $400 for a repair. So I definitely feel as though I was blessed to be able to have that money to the side. But now I used to have it on the credit card. Now that I've paid down a significant portion of the various credit cards, I'm now moving that into the HELOC in general to increase my cash flow. Experiments. I've ran a number of experiments since January to try to understand velocity banking as a concept and accelerated banking as a concept. I took pledge loans out. I took cash advance. I went to Walmart cash advance. I did a cash advance at Wells Fargo, Bank of America, saw the charges, Capital One saw the charges so that I can have a better understanding that if I talk to my clients about cash advance, I have real world information and data to talk with them about. Next, investments. Any type of other investments that I look to make, it will be using the resources within this $50,000 HELOC. So to recap, how I was able to pay off a 30-year mortgage in 2 months was obtaining a $50,000 HELOC on investments that I made starting in 2008. One of the ways that I achieved these investments was that I had a roommate also that lived together for maybe 5 to 7 years, paid about $400 a month. So over the 5 to 7 years, inflation in Atlanta area ate away at that 400. I never went up, but still using frugality and maintaining the money, even if it was $200, $300 that was remaining, that also included utilities. I took that money and made investments. Not everyone can have a roommate. From what I'm now understanding, that was called house hacking. I did not know that I was house hacking. All I was doing was getting the property, moving with a roommate, fixing up the property, moving to another property. The roommate went with me, moved to a third property. The roommate went with me, and I was able to achieve 3 properties. I had 4, but lost one in a bankruptcy in 2008. Kind of got the big head in general, but I was able to save the 3 and move on. So velocity accelerated banking is my concept of how I have practiced reducing my debt using other debt. So I'm just going to step away from a minute and just allow you to see the board. Sometimes I'm in the middle of the board and you may not see all the numbers. All right, so I'm back. So yes, I think using a HELOC in general could be a more efficient way to bring down your debt if you're able to secure one. I didn't start with a HELOC. I wanted a HELOC to start with after I read a couple of things about it. Because of the debt I had, I couldn't. So I started with reducing my credit card debt. Once I was successful with that, I came back 4 or 5 months later to a to a to one of the people entities that applied, and that happened I guess kind of unexpectedly. I went back to my folder and I started deleting the files that I had on and getting a HELOC, and a voice really said to me, go back to this particular vendor. I kind of I'm kind of reluctant, so I went back to that particular vendor, started talking to a person, and I was like, what the heck? All right. So we ran my credit again. The numbers came back a little bit more favorable. That was a soft hit. Then I eventually did a hard pull, and we just started running through the potential in general, and it resulted in the 50,500 HELOC. So I think I'm in a um, position, well, yes, some of the experiments in helping others. If you like some assistance in improving your credit, working with my concept of advanced accelerated banking, then I'd love to work with you in general. I'm always trying to help others, mentoring, mentorships. So any type of work that I can do. I also do credit authorized users. So I have some clients that are authorized users to boost their credit scores. So I have a number of services and other products that I'm trying to utilize to help others get to their first home purchase, improve their credit, get to a HELOC, and use these concepts that you may not be familiar with. I was not familiar with velocity banking, accelerated banking, until I started really looking for a first lien HELOC. None of my family members or some other people that I knew in general, as I asked around, they were so in some communities that lack financial literacy in general, or low level of financial literacy, I lived in those communities. I lived in public housing, so no one taught me financial literacy. I had to teach it on my own in general. So thank you very much for stopping by, and I hope you have a great day.